If you're from Maine or you're familiar with Maine in general, you would know we're coming to the end of our off season and tourist season is definitely coming. So if you're thinking about moving to the area, here are a few things you must know going into those warmer months. Let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that Maine has really quiet winters. And by this, I mean we have a lot fewer people than we do in the summertime, and a lot of our businesses close down in the winter. Now, as compared to maybe a decade ago, there are a lot more businesses staying open year-round than there used to be by a long shot. But that said, we do still have, quite a few restaurants and shops that close down, especially in the smaller towns, especially in more touristy areas. We have a lot of places shut down in the winter, even if it's just for maybe a month in, say, typically it's about January. It is something important to note that your favorite coffee shop or, your favorite restaurant might not be open year round. So if you're coming in the summer to enjoy it, just know you might not get to enjoy it year round. As for the amount of people in the area, Maine definitely has fewer people in the wintertime. We do have a pretty big tourist season here in those summer months, and we get a huge influx of people visiting from pretty much May through September, October, and then again for the Christmas and holiday season in the winter as well. A lot of towns go from populations of a few thousand people all the way up to tens of thousands of people. And Saturday typically tends to be the big turnover day for those weekly rentals. So just expect traffic, especially on the weekends, to be really backed up leading into Maine, pretty much all the way up the coast, really in any super touristy areas in general. Our roads and our infrastructure were really not built for this many people driving on them. So the roads definitely get backed up. I've seen Route 1 clogged up for hours for a drive that should have taken me, 10 minutes before. So just something important to note, especially if you're visiting kind of a smaller town. And that takes me into my next point, which is going to be traffic. Traffic is a pretty big concern for a lot of people who live in Maine, and not really in the traditional sense of if you live in a city such as Boston, an hour and a half south of here. If you live in Boston, you're kind of expecting traffic. You expect to have a daily commute where the roads do get a little bit clogged up. Here in Maine, we don't really have that, but that kind of makes it all the more frustrating when we do actually have traffic because people aren't used to it. And it definitely gets worse in those summer months, but more and more year over year, we have tons of people moving to Maine right now. So the roads are only getting more congested and more clogged. I wouldn't say in the winter we have a traffic problem at all right now, but that's not to say we won't in the future, as we do have a lot of people moving here. And lastly, I wanted to talk about the weather in Maine. So Maine is one of those states where fortunately we get all four seasons, and that's a blessing and a curse. Unfortunately, our winters are pretty long here, and by the end of it, it has a lot of people pretty frustrated. By the time April rolls around, people are already just itching for summer to start. We really only have, as far as the summer goes, maybe like 3 truly warm months of the year. June, it really is only like super, maybe even considered hot for like half of June, July, August, and then for, most of September. So it's about 3 months altogether. Those are really our only summer months. The rest of the year, it's not really considered winter, obviously, in the spring and fall, but it's not exactly considered warm for those months either. So it is cold for the vast majority of the year. So be prepared for that if you're coming to the area. Even if you're just coming to vacation in the area, just know that if you're not coming in those peak summer months, it's probably going to be fairly cold. You might need to pack an extra sweatshirt or even a pretty good winter jacket, depending on the time of year you come. And if you're moving to the area, definitely being a state that experiences a good winter season, there are a few tips and tricks that you'll need to know to kind of be able to navigate in the snow and in the ice and in the winters in general, which we've made other videos on in the past. It's a whole different video, but the weather is definitely a huge factor when you're talking about Southern Maine in the off season, and something that you should definitely look into. All in all, Maine in the off season really isn't a bad place to be. It's just pretty different from Maine in the summertime, from those picturesque videos you see all over the internet. It's just a little bit different, something to kind of keep in mind. We are pulling out of our winter season right now. Spring is kind of starting up, so people are starting to get a little bit antsy about that. Businesses are starting to open back up again, and in the next couple of months, we're going to start seeing a lot of the tourism pick up in Maine again. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. My name's Margaret. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time.